So it's been 2 weeks after the Devlog 10, and I set my priorities differently because I bad word, can't have that. Cause college, chemistry. The do I give a about chemistry? Anyway, yeah. So I had to do all those other things first, and I could have probably managed my time more effectively so I could do both at the same time, like the game dev in college. But that requires willpower that is beyond me right now, or not really. I'm just making up excuses. Anyway, let's go. So what I'm thinking about doing, right? It's been 2 weeks since the Devlog 10. This video will probably post it like 2 weeks after, so like in 4 weeks total. This video will be posted. I don't know what I just said. I want to start with Buoyancy Part 2. So work on the sailing system, like with an actual boat. I have a dude who's making me a 3D model of a pirate ship. But in the meantime, I'm gonna start working with, I think first off, fix some of the buoyancy script so that it isn't relative to a plank, like a wood plank. I want to make it so that it's relative to any surface area. This dude on Reddit gave me some insight that I might use that. After I'm done fixing the buoyancy script a little bit, I'm gonna start working with the actual boat, right? I'm gonna make the boat buoyant, right? The ship. I'm gonna make the pirate ship buoyant, and then probably add some physics stuff to it. You know, lean left, lean to the right, make it move a little bit here and there. Work with the cloths because of the sails and all that. I'll probably have to go to Blender and do that myself, mate. Oh, probably have to go to Blender and do it myself, mate. So yeah, that's what we're gonna work on. That's what we're gonna work out today, bro. We're gonna work on that. Just start the video. So I received the ship model from the 3D modeler I previously mentioned, and AAA, man, this is triple A quality stuff right here. This person is part of an indie game development studio called Valko Games. So if any of you wish to contact members of the team or the studio, I'll leave a link in the description below. And now, for the ship to float more effectively, I'll have to fix some parts of the buoyancy script first, which is what I'll be doing now. After 2 days of fearful efforts with water mathematics and many pointless excavations, I managed to reproduce some pseudocode that was advised to me. I created a float value that measures how deep an object is submerged within the water. It ranges from 0 if it's outside of the water and 1 if it's completely submerged. By adding this value to the magnitude of the buoyant force, the objects are indeed behaving more realistically. After a chemistry lab, I worked on manually adding an up and down sway to the buoyancy script. By using a lerp function, I could choose how low the object should drop and how high should it float. This effect generated a new array of options for how I would like the buoyancy to look per object. For now, I've fixed the problem where the code had to figure out if an object was unbalanced. There's a variable called water level, which I use to measure the y dimensions of vertices relative to the water level. What I've done is, I loop through all 8 vertices of the object's box collider and find the vertice below the water level. Then I create the average position of specifically the vertices below the water and add a force there. So now with the optimized buoyancy script, the ship is ready to sail. I've prepared the Cinemachine camera to follow and look at the ship, then began testing different methods for the ship's movement. If you notice here, I've set up the ship rotation to equal the camera rotation, which feels really weird since boats don't move by their own will. So here is where the idea of a wind direction began taking form. But before I started, I jumped around different video games with sailing systems to try and visualize what exactly I would want. For now, I won't overcomplicate the wind direction stuff with using the sail's rotation to intensify speed and whatever, which is the Sea of Thieves' sailing style. What I'll do is have the ship maintain a constant speed, and if you're in the same direction as the wind direction, then you get that boost. This is similar to the Assassin's Creed Black Flag sailing style. Firstly though, I had to work with quaternion rotations. And after some failures and maybe even potential future implementations, I successfully managed to create proper horizontal movement. Now I'll work on implementing the wind direction, so I made some direction sprites, then added it to the canvas, and created a wind direction sprite that takes the 4 directions, and at the start of the game it'll randomly define one of the 4 arrows as the direction. So I created some code to figure out the current direction of the wind and send that information anywhere I want. But then I realized the following: as I move the camera, the direction kinda changes. So 2 ways to solve this is either create a minimap, and in that minimap the direction can be a constant 2D image, or have the arrow actively change relative to the camera in 3D space. I decided to go with the minimaps for now since it's more easier. So following Brachis' guide on minimaps, I created a camera that'll return to me a render texture that I'll plug in to a raw image atop my GUI canvas. Then I made a simple script so that the top view camera minimap follows the player. Now, back with the wind direction. The way we'll boost the ship relative to the wind direction is by using the angle between the forward direction of the ship and the wind direction. If the angle between these two is 0, then it means the ship is facing the same direction as the wind. So now that we have the proper conditions, I'll begin implementing the effect. So this is the terribly rough code for the effects if the sails are either propelled by the wind or not. Using DoTween, I push back the FOV of the player to try and give a sense of rush. I also increase the speed of the ship and add a bit of lens distortion to the camera. To better aid the player in regarding the wind direction, I began working on a wind particle system that'll emit around the ship, informing the current wind direction. I'm pleased with the current result, so now I'll have to make this particle system adapt with the wind direction script. I created a wind trail script where the winds would instantiate relative to the origin of the ship and with a certain distance from it. If the winds go to the right, then the particle will instantiate on the left and travel towards the right by instantiating it looking towards the origin of the ship. As a small final touch-up, I created a splash particle system with a similar structure to a video I saw, then attached it to the ship. Once the player was boosted by the wind direction, then the particle effect would play. Finally, this is the current status of the sailing system. So, that'll be all for this devlog. In the next, we'll be working on more stuff related to the sailing system. You can comment down whatever you think might be dope, and I might just do that. Anyways, till next time, I'm signing out.
お前はもう死んでいる。
And I'm trying to get that clout, you know? So follow me on Instagram, please, sir.
misses. Alright, that's it. That's all.